Now, Lee asked me to share some cowboy poetry with you, and I don't know how many of you have been to Elko, but every year in Elko they have a cowboy poetry gathering where folks who live and work in cattle business might share some prose. And it started when I was working as a guide for an outfitter in northern Idaho. There wasn't much to do in the evenings because we didn't have television, and so we'd sit around a fire like this and just kind of recite some stuff. And I'm going to share with you one of the first poems that I learned, which is kind of a classic. It's written by Gale Gardner, called "Tie a Knot in the Devil's Tail." And it's about a couple of cowboys that do what cowboys do best: go out and get a little tuned up. Way up high in the Sierra Peaks, where the yellow jack pines grow tall, old Sandy Bob and Buster Jiggs had a roundup camp last fall. Now, they'd taken their horses and they were running irons and maybe a dog or two. And they swore they'd brand all long-eared calves that came within their view. Now any old doggy with flapping long ears that didn't brush up by day, those long ears whittled and his old hide scorched in a most artistic way. Till one fine day old Sandy Bobby throws the Ciego down, so I'm sick of the smell of this here burning hair, and by God, I'm going to town. So they saddles up and they hit some elope, for it weren't no side of a ride. And them were the days when a buckaroo could oil up his old insides. They starts her off the Kentucky bar at the head of Whiskey Row, wound up down by the depot house, about 40 drinks below. Then sets up and turns around and goes her the other way. And tell you the godforsaken truth, them boys got stewed that day. Now, as they was riding back to camp, they're packing a pretty good load. Well, who should they meet but the devil himself come prancing down the road? Says he, "You ornery cowboy skunks, you'd better hunt your holes, 'cause I've come up from Hell's Rim Rock to gather in your souls." Sandy Bob says, "Well, devil be damned, we boys is kind of tight, and you ain't gonna get no cowboy souls without one hell of a fight." And old Sandy Bob punched a hole in his rope and he swung it straight and true. And he latched it on to the devil's horns, and he'd taken his dallies too. And old Buster Jiggs, he's a reata man with his rawhide coiled up neat. He shakes her out and builds him loop, and he lassos up the devil's hind feet. So they stretched him out and they tailed him down while the irons are getting hot. And they cropped and swallow forked both his ears, and they branded him up a lot. And then they pruned him up with a dehorning saw and knotted his tail for a joke, and then rode off and left him there, neck to a blackjack oak. So if you're ever up high in the Sierra Peaks and you hear one hell of a wail, you'll know it's that devil bellowing about the knots tied in his tail.